Good, Tina, good. Breathe. All right, everyone close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. Just for a moment, we're going to do a little bit of creative visualization. Have you all seen The Truman Show?
Yes.
Michelle, have you seen The Truman Show? In The Truman Show, he's inside this giant dome. He was born into the dome, into a world that was made as a completely fanciful arena or forum for his experience, which was a television show that people outside the dome were watching. And he had no clue. He was the only one. Everyone within the dome knew it was not real. That's where we're at. This dream has no reality. Outside the dream, outside time and space, beyond the world, reality exists where you are now, as you have always ever been. Try to imagine another version of yourself, a true version of yourself, radiant in golden light, somewhere else in a universe far away, in a dimension not of the third dimension. And yourself as a character in a script, in a TV show, who's now awakening to the fact that you're actually a character in a script in a TV show. It's like, holy cow, I'm just a figure in my own dream here. My false identity, my physical self, my association, my temporal association. It's not real. It's just molecules and atoms whizzing around that my mind is telling me are dense and solid. But yet 99.999% of all matter in my body and in the universe is made up of empty space. It's an illusion. It's a trick of the light. The real me, the real you, is somewhere else. Laying in a hospital bed, laying on a magical cloud in heaven, if you want to think of it that way. It doesn't matter how you think of it. Jesus is standing around beside you, and you start reading these lessons in the course and you start to have reactions to them. All of a sudden on the cloud, you wiggle a toe. All of a sudden on the cloud, your eyelids begin to blink. And Jesus and angels and everybody comes running over going, ooh, something's happening here. This one's starting to wake up. And they start to give you extra support to help you wake up. They give you a Zoom meeting and a book with 365 lessons, mighty companions, all these things. Yet when you wake up in the dream, you'll cease to exist. And you'll find yourself in reality as what you truly are. It's so mind-bendingly hard to encompass and difficult to encompass. It's like a Hollywood film, like The Matrix. But yet that's closer to what reality is than anything we can imagine for ourselves, pretty much. This is just the vessel, just the avatar. It's not my reality. Breathe. Try to let go now. Take a moment and step back in your own consciousness. Step back or forward, wherever you feel comfortable. I want you to try and feel for some room, for some space in your mind, as if your mind was one of those little puzzles where you move the pieces around to try and get them all in order on a flat board. You can't lift them off the board, you just have to move them. It's like your mind is like this thing that goes click, clock, tick, tack, every other which way, looking for something. Looking for something. Step back now in your own mind and just observe it. Just allow your thoughts to be there and just observe them as if they're, like Jesus says in the Course, an oddly assorted procession going by. Be objective. Tina, be objective. Step right back. Look at yourself looking at your thoughts. It's like, oh, look at me. There's a thought about having something to eat. Look at me looking at that thought of having something to eat. Try to find who it is that is the I that is looking at the thoughts. Ramana Maharshi used to teach, you have to discover who is the I that is asking the question. Who is the I that is thinking these thoughts? Not the thoughts themselves. They're just the effects of a belief in separation. They're just like a script or a movie reel going by again and again and again. Who am I? And just be still and allow yourself to try and fall back into that sense of I, albeit illusory, it doesn't matter. Try to find it. You'll get to a point where you can't find it. You'll get to a point where there's nobody home. When you get to that point where you realize, where you just go, holy cow, there's no one in here. You're standing right in front of the door to eternity, the door to the void. When you meditate, the stillness of the mind is in that place where you're looking for the I, who I am, and I can't find it there. It's because it's not there. And all your thoughts are nothing more than a distraction from realizing that. There is no I. There's only self. Breathe. Drop back. Drop back. Try to get a sense of looking around in your mind. Try to get a sense of exploring the depths of consciousness, the depths of the darkness and the abyss of your consciousness, as if there's something there for you to find. Try to push and to reach out with your feelings. This is a meditative practice. Try to push. You have to feel the force, feel that inner energy, that inner chi. Let it guide you, let it direct you. If you're doing it properly, you'll feel a kind of a sense of either falling down and back or maybe going forward and up. There's a kind of a movement that occurs in the mind. All of a sudden, you'll be sitting in the stillness, and all of a sudden you'll feel almost as if you're being drawn, as if you're being ushered or pulled by invisible means. For me, it was always down and back, but I've heard other people tell me, oh, I feel as if I'm going upwards and forwards. It doesn't matter which way. Try to get a sense of it and allow yourself to go with it. Breathe. Don't become preoccupied with looking for the I. Just casually glance around in your consciousness. Try to find, where is it that my thinking mind is, where these thoughts are being produced? Where am I that is thinking these things? In the place where you realize there's no one there, in the place where you realize you just can't find it, be still in that place. Good. Good, Tina. That's good. I can see you in there. It's like you become an explorer in a certain regard. You become a kind of an adventurer in your own mind. It doesn't necessarily take hours and hours and hours of sitting in meditation. If it does, it does, but it doesn't have to anymore. We've got this new technology. Sometimes just a few minutes is enough. When I first started practicing meditation, when I was about 16 or 17, I used to have to sit for about an hour to 2 hours before any kind of movement of the mind was perceptible. It was an intense task. I even went to a hypnotist to help me to still my mind, to give me some techniques, which was actually very helpful at the time, but I kind of outgrew it as things went on. I would sit with the Brahma Kumari for a while, who had a temple not far from me, and we would stare with open eyes at the flame of a candle. And some of those guys could stare with their eyes open till the candle burned right down to the stub. I would always blink and get distracted and whatever. But some of them, you would realize that they're not really even in their consciousness. They're not really even there looking at the candle. They're in a whole other place in their mind, and their body is just simply sitting, waiting for them to return. Yes. Breathe. Anna, push. Push. Feel it. Try to get a sense. Ask within yourself, where am I here? Where am I? Where is this thinking I? This I that seems to be the observer, seems to be the thinker of thoughts. Let yourself go to where you feel drawn to go in your consciousness. Try to get a sense of being drawn and letting go of control. Oh. There's a part I was reading in the course a couple of weeks ago. Jesus was talking about the lovely flashes when you're doing your workbook lessons, and you're starting to have those flashes of light inside your consciousness, where your sense of who you are is almost as if it's being guided towards something or some kind of destination in your consciousness. One of the lessons, he says, let go of your mind. It's towards the end of the book, but let go, and your mind will automatically go where it wants to go. Like release the Christ and it will go to where it needs to go. There's an actual movement in the mind. And I remember one of my teachers, Greta, she was talking one day about it. She was a Dutch woman, so she had a very strong accent. It was a little hard to understand, but when she started talking about the movement in consciousness, it's as if there's a tiny little click, like a tiny little bump, like a tiny little step, something there, and you'll be like, I never noticed that before. The first time you sense it, you'll feel like, wow, what is that? And you'll want to do it again. All right? There's a stillness, and you find that stillness, and your mind just automatically goes, and there's like, it's either a up and forward or a down and back. It's like a little boom, just a tiny little thing, and you pick up on it as something ever so subtle. But you're training your mind to feel. You're training your mind to feel with the heart. You're training your mind to listen and reach into consciousness itself, into, I don't know how to teach this part of it. It's sort of like, It's like in the Truman Show where he goes to the end, he gets in the boat and he rows to the end and the boat just goes boom and it hits the wall, which has been painted to look like the sky. And the boat just goes boom. And he's at the end of consciousness. He's at the limit of his world, of his experience. And he's like, what's this? It's the same in you. Consciousness has a limit. Consciousness is symbolic of what limitation is. The limitation on your experience here has been set by God himself so that you can't wander off into time and space forever and ever meaninglessly lost. Right? And now we're looking at that idea of, well, what am I if I'm not this limited thing? But you can't find what it is that I am from within the framework of the limitation itself. You have to find that perceptual sort of limit, that perceptual boom moment where the boat hits the wall and you wait there for a second, someone's going to come and open the door, right? Knock and the door will be opened. Ask and you shall receive. Feel it. Try to get a sense of it. If you have to sit for an hour, do it. It's an hour well spent. It's better than an hour spent watching Netflix. Breathe. How are you going with it there, Anna? It's okay. Think of something. Think of a cat. Anna, I want you to think of a cat, like a black cat. Can you see that thought in your mind? Now ask yourself, where did that thought come from? Try to find where that thought came from when I said think of a black cat. Who spoke the words black cat in your mind? Try to find that place. Try to explore around in there a little bit and see if there's any way you can kind of push about and try to find where something might be coming from. Kind of feel the wave, feel it, get a sense of it. It's time well spent. Yes. That's good. Good. Bernadette, that's good. There's a dropping down sort of. Good. All right, we'll leave it there. If you're doing the workbook lessons still, at those last lessons, try to apply it there because those lessons are the same where it says we say God is and then we cease to speak. Right? By the time you get to those lessons, you already should have some kind of sense of that mantra style of repetitive thought association in your mind that keeps you in a still place. That will help you. Okay. It doesn't matter how you find that still place. You can use these workbook lessons or you can do your own meditation or you can try to find it in there in the same way like Ramana Maharshi would teach or I was just teaching you then. It's almost impossible to try and teach that part of it though, because it's an internal action. It's an internal shift that occurs. And it's literally a shift that there are no words to describe. It's kind of like that story of the three blind men that are feeling the elephant and one's got the tail and one's got the trunk and the other one's got a leg and they're all like, no, an elephant's solid and strong. And the other one's like, no, it's flexible and bendy. And the other one's like, no, it's big, like a big, long thing. You know, so for everybody, when I tell you something, it's different. which is why when you read in these workbook lessons, as you go through them, you'll realize that there are probably 4 or 5 different approaches to pushing into consciousness in your own thinking. And Jesus says, something in there like, don't worry about all these lessons so much. Some of them will seem to have greater meaning and relevance to you than others, and you'll be able to find some of them easier to relate to and work with than other ones. And it's like, for me, I had lesson 10 was very profound for me, and lesson 1, lesson 10, lesson 76 and lesson 50 and 200 and all of those sorts of ones, and each of them carried a kind of a resonance with it that I just associated with it in such a way that, I guess because my mind works pictorially, the pictorial expression that was offered through those lessons was something that I could grasp to a greater degree than those that had more of an academic presentation. So each of you will respond to the lessons differently, and you'll find your own way with it. But it's that stillness, it's that place in the mind where you're still, and you may yet still have to transform all of that old stuff, right? The first half of the workbook, which is letting go of the past and stop trying to predict the future and all of this kind of thing, until you get to the second part of the workbook and you realize that you're being presented with an opportunity to actually awaken. The meditative part of it is really important, right? Prayer, meditation, study, and the discipline that goes along with all of those things. Don't make them ritualistic, but just feel it in your heart. I really need to spend time with God today. I really need to sit and meditate today. And let yourself be honorable with that. Do it. Climb the mountain. Do what you got to do. If it's not in the course, it'll be in something that comes to you. Jesus says some will find that in this course in these lessons we do today, some will find it in experience that's not of this world. Some will find it however they find it. It's all helpful. At least you're looking. At least you're in the ballpark. At least you're on the field. You're no longer a spectator. Good. Any question? Bernadette, you have a question.
I actually had a question regarding something that you mentioned. A few days ago, I had I don't know what it was, but I think I woke up in my dream.
Yeah.
And but it was so real. I mean, I seen a little girl by my bed, and a black little girl wearing an old dress, like something that you would see in old times, and had a single bow in her hair. And I got out of my bed and I went over there and I tried talking to her, but my words were very slow, like this. And I said to her, "Oh, you're a spirit." And then I seen her as I was leaving at the door, going out the door, and she was just like around the corner, and she was holding a glowing box, and she gave it to me. And I was telling this to Tina, and she thought maybe I should talk to you about, like, I don't know what it was. I mean, I understand everything is a projection on my mind. I get that. I know it's a dream. So did I wake up in my dream? Like, what was it? But it was so real. It was like so real. I could have like touched her. And I had a similar experience once before, 10 years ago, when I woke up and I seen this, I don't know what it was, this white something like floating right above my husband. And as soon as I noticed, I noticed, and then floating above me, and it was communicating with me through just thoughts. And it was just a feeling of guilt and shame. And I like just freaked out, and I was trying to wake my husband up, and I was like, what the hell is this? I mean, I was just like, and I don't know what it was now, what I was seeing this little girl like was, I really don't know.
So lesson number one, nothing I see means anything.
Yes.
Okay. It's essential that you let go of trying to give it any meaning.
Okay.
Not because perhaps it doesn't have a meaning, but because in the admission that you don't know what the meaning is, it's pointless to try and decide for yourself what it could be. Okay.
Okay.
So ask Holy Spirit within you, what is this? Show me what this means. Is there something here that I'm supposed to take on board? I had an experience once when I was at the healing center. Sometimes afterwards, my girlfriend Josie had an apartment about probably 200 meters down the same road from the healing center. And I would go there after session, or we would all go there. Sometimes it'd be half a dozen of us go and sit in her lounge room, and we'd have coffee and stuff and some biscuits, Tim Tams usually. And we would just talk about whatever Ted had been talked about in the discourse for the day during the session, and perhaps do a workbook lesson and this sorts of things. So this living room space became a kind of a meeting place, an after session meeting place for us, probably 2 days a week at least. Sometimes 3 or 4 days a week. We'd just go there and just chill out. And one day I was up at the healing center, and Josie came up to me and she goes, "You have to come to my place." She was all panicked and whatever. She goes, "You have to come to my place. I've got a ghost. I've got a ghost." And I'm like, "What do you mean you've got a ghost?" It was a brand new apartment. No one had been murdered there. Nothing typical with your average ghost scenario. And so I said, "Okay, I'll come." And I don't know what I was going to do. You know, I'd seen a ghost once before when I was very little, but I don't know why she wanted me. But anyway, we went to her apartment, and there was me and her and one of the other ladies. I can't remember her name, but she said, "It's upstairs in my daughter's room." So we went upstairs to where the bedrooms were, and sure enough, we walked into her daughter's bedroom, and there was this presence in the room that you couldn't see, but you could feel it. You could feel it was there. And when you walked through the presence, it was freezing cold. It was like ice cold. There was like it was definitely something in the room. And so I said to her, "Close the door and turn on all the lights." And there was a lamp beside her daughter's bed and then the overhead light. So we turned on the 2 lights. And I just said to the presence, I said, "You can come with me and I'll take you to session tomorrow and you can go to the light," right? Because we used to do our light sessions every day. And that was it. The presence vanished, never to be seen again in the room. And that afternoon, I was walking, I'd been in town. I was walking back up the beach, right? The beach was the quickest access rather than going through all the windy route, because we all lived along the beachfront. And so you just walk up the beach from town back to where we lived. And Josie was walking the other way. We're walking towards each other. I could see her in the distance, and I'm waving and everything. And she's waving. And I had this funny feeling that I was being followed, right? This is that same afternoon. I had this funny feeling that I was being followed. And when we sort of bumped into each other in the beach, she goes, where did that child go that was with you?" And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "There was a little child walking up the beach just behind you. And then now that we're here, the child's disappeared." And she said, "It looked like a little Aboriginal boy." right? And I said, oh, I don't know. I said, but I did feel like I was being followed, or like someone was there, you know, like I felt that presence. And we discussed that it was probably the ghost and whatever like that. Anyway, so the next day we went to session, and I felt that day, I don't know how to describe this, but I felt like something implode in me, like something just went whoop into my body and then out through the top of my head. Like it was sort of like a Kundalini experience, but it wasn't my Kundalini experience. It was like I was being piggybacked off or something. And I realized in my mind that was the little boy or the entity, whatever, going to the light. And I had a very profound light experience that day. And so did everybody. I mean, the whole session was supercharged. I'd like to say probably because of that, but I don't know. Like, sessions used to go all sorts of different ways and crazy shit would happen. And anyway, so I got a bit curious about this little Aboriginal boy anyway, and I did some research into her unit block, her apartment block, which was only like 18 months, 2 years that had been built there on that site. And it turns out that Belongil, where the healing centre was and where Josie's apartments were built, used to be an Aboriginal burial ground. And her apartment was built on a burial ground which belonged to Bunjalung tribe, which was a tribe of people. They call themselves the bird tribe, and they associate with a specific bird of that area that's like a totem or a thing for them. And so we went and we did a whole healing ceremony in her apartment block for all of those Aboriginal people that were buried there, whose graves might have been disturbed or whatever. Nobody ever mentioned it. Like, we look for it in the archives of the newspapers and council records when the application was being put in to build the units. There was nothing, not a mention of a graveyard, a sacred site, nothing at all. You know, and it was just quite profound, like the experience of it. And it's like, it was definitely that. You know? But your little girl that came to you will have significance to you for something. There's something there that, like, everything happens for healing, right? The only purpose the Holy Spirit sees in anything is healing. So whatever it is, it's going to be something to do with healing. It involves you. Obviously, it's disturbed you emotionally. There's something there that's like there's a presence in your chest with it. And you can feel it there now even. I know you can. There's like this whole sort of kind of like heavy thing. But ask within, ask the Holy Spirit, what do I do with this? What would you have me do with this whole thing? Right? The idea of ghosts and things, and it's not really covered in the course, but it's such a prevalent part of so many people's experience on the spiritual journey, on the spiritual path. So many people have experiences of loved ones, other entities, angels, and all of these other things that are like, when you read the course, it's like you're looking for this kind of stuff, and there's, you know, like there's a line in there. There was one day I was sitting watching a master teacher video, and I heard the horn of Gabriel, right? So it was like, if you've ever heard a French horn, just like that, as if it's a herald or something, and that, like this huge horn. And I turned around fully expecting there to be somebody at the back of the room with a French horn. And there was no one there. And I realized that no one else had heard the horn. The room was full of people. No one else had heard it. No one else was turning around. Everyone's watching the video. And when I was looking in the course for the idea of angels' horns or trumpets or whatever, there was one line about Gabriel's horn. You know, and it's like, damn, Jesus, you don't give away much. Like, it doesn't mention much about all this sort of like stuff that seems to be on the periphery, you know. But yet it shows up in so many people's experiences. All of these things just show up, and you're like, what do I do with that? Do I just write it off as nothing I see means anything? It's like, well, hang on a minute. No, I'll just ask the Spirit. I'll ask within myself, what do I do with this? What would you have me do with this experience of this little girl wearing an old dress and whatever?
It was some reason I thought there was significance of the box, that glowing box that she gave me.
Probably. But it's like if you've ever seen the story of A Course in Miracles with Helen Schuckman, before she started hearing Jesus' voice, she started having very prophetic dreams, very realistic dreams, very lucid dreams. She started having all that stuff happen, you know, and her and Bill used to write down all the dreams. And Tina, we've got that somewhere, don't we? That if we can find that, and then Bernadette, you can watch it and you'll sort of see. And she has a beautiful dream about being in a cave on a windswept coast and finding a parchment scroll. And she unrolls the scroll, and right on the left is the past, and on the future is written, on the right is written the future. Oh. And in the middle, it just says God is. And a silent voice explains to her that if she reads the left, she can see everything that ever happened in the past. And if she reads the right, she can see everything's going to happen in her future. And she says to the voice, she says, I just want this bit in the middle. God is. And then the voice says to her, well done, you made it that time. Right? As if she was being tested. Right? As if she was being tested, or they were waiting for her to make the right choice. You know, and then she started hearing Jesus after that. So, but those dreams were very realistic. She talks about them as being very lucid, and she knew of this place. She knew of the coast, or even though she'd never been there before. You know, it was very familiar, but she'd never experienced it before. All these sorts of things. The box, who knows?
When I was little, I used to have a lot of lucid dreaming, and then not little, a teenager. And then they stopped.
Right.
So I don't know if they're just coming back now. I really don't know.
I don't know. You go through stages and stuff, you know. It's like when you're a kid, your parents tell you, oh, don't be silly, it's just a dream, you know, and you have all that kind of stuff knocked out of you. You know, it's like you have to grow up and be normal and get a life and do all of that. So it's sort of all that magical stuff when you're a child, where you believe in fairies and goblins and anything, magic unicorns. All of a sudden you put those things away and you be sensible, you know. But it's like now all of that stuff, like, not that it has any reality, whatever, because it's all just a dream, but it all sort of seems like it had a place in something at that time, and it like comes back for you to look at, perhaps, or you have an experience of it again. You know, ask the Holy Spirit, what's this about? You know, only you can know. I can't tell you.
Sometimes I'm wondering, like, this is a course in miracles,
right?
So when am I gonna realize that I am a miracle, and you know, there are miracles, and we're miracle workers.
Right. You see, this is a book. I call it a book, and I relate to it as a book. My mind is concretized to the idea that this is a book, and I read it, and I get the results of reading it. Right? It's not a book at all. It is the furthest thing from the truth it could be, is a book. There are no pages. There's nothing written there. This is light. This is light. My mind sees it as the book. Right? That's where we go in our mind. That's where the human being goes with its thoughts. It takes everything for granted, and it has this sense of familiarity. And it's like somewhere we've got to let ourselves be children again. Let our imagination and our senses and our feelings and stuff reach out into that sense of playing and just exploring and having fun with stuff. You know, stop trying to be all grown up and sensible. It's not that you're suddenly going to be silly, but you know what I mean? It's just like, it doesn't, there's who told you it's a book? Who told you to take the world seriously?
Thank you for this.
Right.
I needed to hear this right now.
Good. You know what's funny in the world is that there's this perception that if you surround yourself with successful people and the right friends, that you'll do well in life and it'll be a good influence in your life. And if you avoid crazy people and whatever, but it's like nothing further from the truth could there be. Like the last thing you want to do is to lock yourself into an idea of what the status quo is. You know, there's nothing worse than being in a framework of success in the world. There's no such thing. It's like the more success you have and the more normal you become and the more everything becomes just the way it is in your own mind, the least close to your heart you ever are. That's why you see all these movies of housewives, you know, and they're married to successful men in, you know, like in New York or something, and they feel trapped because they've got everything they ever wanted. They've got the children and the cars and the lifestyle and the prestigious friends and the, you know, all of that stuff, but they've got no heart space. They've got no life. They're a bird in a gilded cage. Their sense of joy and their sense of self and exuberance and just childish, silly abandon. What happened to that person I used to be, they'll say. I used to be so happy and joyous. I used to just skip down the street for no reason. Sing out loud for no reason. It's like the other day I was walking from my shop. I have a little tattoo studio and I was walking from there early in the morning. Every morning I wander up the street to my little cafe and I have a coffee and a toasted sandwich or something for breakfast. And it's a bit of a routine. I've got like half an hour. It's the closest one to go to, you know, like by the time I clean the shop and everything, get ready. And I didn't realize, but I was whistling really loud walking up the street. Like just some random whistling. I couldn't even tell you what tune I was whistling. And I had these two Indian guys walking the other direction. I see them every other day. These two Indian guys, they work in one of the office buildings near there. And they're like looking at me like I'm like, and I saw them and I realized that there would have been a point in my life at one time I would have stopped whistling because I would have realized that I was being a bit weird or out of sync with everyone and how, you know, oh, don't be whistling. Crazy people whistle, you know. And I just kept whistling. I'm like, and then I realized I didn't even know what I was whistling. And so I tried to whistle a tune that might be recognizable and I couldn't think of one. So I just got to the cafe and I just stopped whistling at the door, you know, like just, I don't know. I was just happy, just like a kid, you know, like a kid, you know, walking along with the mother and the kid's like off in his own little world, just like, yeah, doing a whole thing. And like the mother always wants to say, settle down, kid, you know, stop being so silly. We're out in public. You know, it's like, who gives a shit? There's no rules. There's no rules at all. That's going to be the scariest thing that you ever hear. You're free. You're totally free. There are no rules. Not one. Not one. I feel quite certain that little girl was you. Past life, perhaps. But I feel quite certain it was you. With her magic box full of light. Open the box, Bernadette, she was probably saying. Open the box. Remember. This is our magic box full of secrets. Who knows? Only you can know, really. Ask the Holy Spirit and you'll get an answer.
I did have a feeling that was me when you just said that. I did earlier. I did have a feeling.
You. Right to me that it was you.
I need to find that little girl again.
No, you don't. She'll find you. When you're ready, she'll find you. Until then, just keep going. Do your lessons. Do what you need to do. It'll happen automatically. It's just a little thing. You're on the right track. It's just a little reminder. Phenomena and all of these sorts of things, vivid dreaming, lucid dreaming, they're all just indicators that you're on the right track. Hopefully you have more stuff like that happens. So we're going to do tomorrow. We're going to join up with the guys from Lloyd and Stephanie's group. After we'll do a short one in the morning for an hour or two, and then we'll swap over to there. So if you guys all want to join in that, that'll be fun. We're going to do sex tomorrow. We're going to get down and dirty with that whole like base energy sort of thing. You know, like if you're a chakra person, it'll be your base chakra. I don't like the idea of chakras particularly. They don't have any association, but the only reference I have for them through the course is that Jesus says that awakening has nothing to do with the activation of glands in the body, which is basically he's talking about the chakra system. 50 million Frenchmen can be wrong. So just because everybody believes in it doesn't mean it's a thing. Awakening is an action of mind. That's it. Simple action of mind. Stuff will occur through the body. You will experience shifts. Oh, hello. I've got somebody here too. I just look. There you go. Look at that. Might be your little girl. I want to go and have a look now behind the armchair there, but I just saw somebody duck down. Like as soon as I looked, they ducked down. I've been seeing funny little things out the corner of my eye all day today. It's just like little movements and stuff. And it's like, what? It's really quite beautiful. But anyway, tomorrow we'll cover that. Tomorrow we'll get into the physical nature of the misguided miracle impulses and things like that, because as you go through life, as you go through the physical experience, it seems to be that there are thresholds that you come across, and each of these thresholds is usually preceded by an increasingly intense engagement with a particular association of bodily stuff. You'll start to feel more horny or more whatever, you know, especially as women reach, what is it when you go through that?
Menopause
And stuff like that, you know. And for guys, it's slightly different. Guys don't really have that whole thing, but we still have this other impulses that seems to be in our body, which is nothing more than miracle impulses, right? But the confusion of those impulses is something that you really need to understand. Otherwise, you're going to fall into it again and again, because it seems to be something that you've had a long belief of thinking is a loving action or a loving use of the way of the mind and relationships and things like that, when in actual fact it's the opposite. So probably won't be much fun to hear that initially, but once you realize that it's just another step on the ladder, but it's good to get it out of the way fairly early, I think, at least to have an understanding of it, so that you're aware of what you're doing in your own mind when you feel these impulses. And the good thing is, as you begin to pay more and more attention to it, you start to pick up more and more on the subtle frequency that's associated with it. But anyway, we'll talk about that tomorrow. And I went on a date last night.
You went on a date? No.
I went on a date with a girl, like a person.
Oh, wow. You've been dating a lot. I mean,
no.
It feels like this is the second time we've heard about like your adventures in dating. I guess it's been a year.
Oh,
almost.
well, actually, the last one I didn't go. I chickened out. But this one, this one I went, and I saw myself trying to wriggle out of it halfway through the dinner.
Oh, wow.
I saw my, I know, I saw myself trying to like think, how can I wind this up? I just want to
Oh
go.
God.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was
so
lovely and
cool.
all. It was nice, and the food was good, and the company was nice, and everything like that. But it's just like, it was so human. I couldn't do it, you know. And anyway, I was asked, I was asked, which is why I went, you know.
Well,
Otherwise,
is there going to be a second date, or who knows? Holy Spirit. Take
maybe
care.
this evening, like she's in town for a few days.
Yeah, get out of your box, brother.
Yeah,
Get out of your
I'm
comfort
a little out
zone.
of my box. I'm a little out of my box, but that's okay. But knowing me, I'll put my foot down and probably declare myself for what's true, and then that'll ruin everything. Thankfully.
Who knows? Who knows? Trust your brothers. Trust your brothers.
Who knows? Who knows?
Trust your brothers.
It's all funny, really, isn't it? So, anyway,
So
that was
I want to, I'm sorry, really quick. I'm sorry. So you said it's going to be a short one tomorrow? Because I think it
well,
starts.
we start. When do I start at 7 o'clock? We start at 7, yeah,
Yeah.
my time.
Oh, okay. So,
Is
yeah.
it?
So, yeah, 7 o'clock your time. We start
Yeah.
at 6 o'clock your time.
Right. So 7 o'clock my time, and we'll go to 9. We'll do
So
some
we're going to
stuff
go all the way. So we're not taking a break.
to 9. Yeah. Well, then when it gets to like 8:45, we'll log out, and then we'll log back in on Stephanie and whatever's one, and you can put.
Yeah, I'm going to do it tonight.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that because Lloyd's another awakened mind. I'm not sure about Stephanie. I like haven't really had to do with her, but Lloyd and I have had these back and forths, you know, and it's like, and this guy's awake too, you know, like this guy's. So we were talking on the phone the other day. It's funny because we had this incredible conversation, and you know how we forget to record our Zooms? We didn't record it. And I suddenly remembered that my daughter, she's 14, my daughter taught me how to record off the screen of my phone. Whatever's going on the screen can be recorded on video. And I tried to fiddle around and do it. And by the time I worked out how to do it, we'd already finished talking.
It's like, all right, talk to you later.
Yeah, talk to you later, man. And it's like, damn.
Sorry.
But it was like a whole thing, you know, it was really, really powerful. So, but anyway.
All right, so we're going to go straight through. Okay. All right.
Yeah, we'll go straight through. So probably be like 4 hours tomorrow. So
5 hours.
5 hours. They do a 3-hour thing.
No, it's 2 hours for you, and then we'll have been here for 2 hours with you and an hour before you. So it'll be 5 hours for us.
Oh, good. That'll be intense. Push
yeah,
it.
we'll be done. We'll be done.
Good. You'll be all baked out. Good.
And I dropped in. I think that's the video for the course story.
Okay.
So I think
just put the link up again tonight or whatever, or
in the room. I have to make sure that's the right one, but yeah, I'll put it in the room too.
Well, I hope it's the right one.
Can you send it to me, Tina?
I'm pretty sure it's the right one. There's a couple of them. I think that's it. So
okay.
I don't have time to watch the 2-hour thingy.
Anyway,
right on.
Have fun. Peace. Bibiana. Peace. Lovely to see you all.
Thank you.
Do you know Michelle, Dave?
No, she's dropped out there somewhere.
Yeah, I wanted to catch her. So I don't know where she found, and maybe from your Facebook page. I thought maybe you knew her.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
I don't know. Doesn't matter. All right.
I think I lost her at the end there.
I don't think so.
We'll see.
Projecting onto him.
Maybe I'm projecting. Oh.
You're dating and all that stuff is happening.
I know. I'm getting very worldly. I'm getting more worldly. All right. Ciao.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Good to see you, albeit briefly, Bibiana.
Bye, Anna.
Bye.
All right. Bye, Lovely. I'll send you what I can send you.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.